Welcome to the VarsityKansas.com Big Show. I am Joanna Chadwick of the Wichita Eagle and VarsityKansas.com, and we are taping here at KSN. My guest today is Kenny Taylor, the coach of the West Wrestling team. Thanks for being here, Coach.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Kenny is a graduate of West High, 1996, right? So it was right before I got here, so I didn't have a chance to cover him. But a two-time state champ. What's it like taking over at your alma mater?
Oh, it's a great feeling. I've coached a lot of high schools before, a lot of different places, but this actually is I feel like it's home for me since I graduated from West. I know a lot of the staff over there, so it's a great honor for me to be able to coach back at my alma mater.
Do you feel any pressure there, being that you're trying to get West, you want to get West back to prominence? Do you feel pressure that you need to be able to do this?
No pressure. I've been involved with the sport of wrestling forever, so it's just like waking up, putting on a pair of pants for me. I enjoy it, and I look forward to I look forward to accepting challenges. So this is actually, I feel like this is a great place for me to be.
Talk a little bit about being a part of wrestling for all your life. I mean, you're part of the Knox, Taylor family, all there, and of course, there's a lot of state champions in your family, isn't there? We were trying to count them before we started taping. There's a lot. I've covered Daniel.
Okay.
And Sean, of course, is a junior. He's a two-time champ.
Right.
Tristan was a four-time champ.
Right.
Daniel's dad was a champ.
Two-time champ, yes.
And who am I missing there?
My brother, Galen Taylor. He was a state champion. I think '98. And there's a lot of medals, runner-up, thirds. We wouldn't have enough time on the show for me to go on and on, but yeah, it's a great tradition in our family. We joke around a lot. Once a kid is delivered, we try to get him a pair of wrestling shoes at the hospitals because we know the chance of him being on the mat are pretty high.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about West High right now.
Okay.
And tell me about who are some of the athletes who are wrestling really well for you.
Some of my names, the names that come out are Kalen Collins. He's a 160-pounder. He transferred from South. We have Jesse Oliver. He's a 170-pounder. And then we have my younger class, Idris Elias Jr. He's a freshman. Right now, I think he's something like 16, 17 and 0, ranked number 1 in the state. We have my 113-pounder, John Fonseca. He's doing real well. And my 120-pounder, he's a freshman named Jared Stevens.
You talked about that younger class, and it takes time to build. I mean, West Wrestling has struggled for a period of time here after winning a title back in 2001.
Right.
How important is to get those younger kids really believing in the program so that you can build for the future?
That's very, very important because of the fact that they're freshmen. I'm new there, well, not new, but this is my first year there at West, and this is their first year at West, so I feel a connection with those little younger guys for them just to buy into the system, and if we can get that accomplished, then I see big things happening for West High in the future.
And you look at Idris Elias, just to age me, which I love to do to myself. Of course, I covered his dad in high school.
Right.
He would have played for that '97 football team that played in the 6A state championship. But now let's look at wrestling as a whole in the City League. And there's some pretty good teams out there. I like the coaching staffs. You got Mike Church, a former champ out at South, coaching at Heights. Mark Stovall comes back to Carroll. You've got Roy Ozer over at East. You got Mike Atley back in the league. He's over at Southeast. Capen's tough. It's a good league, isn't it?
Real good league, real good league. It's fun on Thursdays to go out and compete against those teams. A lot of those coaches that you named coached against me as an athlete. Now I'm getting the opportunity to coach against them as coaches. The City League is filled with a lot of talent, so it's kind of hard to pick to say who's going to be number 1, who's going to be number 2. When we go into the City League tournament, I'll just put this out. You don't want to miss that tournament because it's going to be some great, great wrestling.
I believe it. Yeah, and Northwest, of course, is a team that I didn't mention there either, and I know that they're pretty strong.
Yes.
Looking at now where we are, we're about a month out from state.
Right.
What do you need to see from your team as you look at City League is not very far away. You've got regionals that are just a week after that. What do you need to see from your guys?
What I need to see from those guys is what I've been seeing all year. Just continue to work hard, improve in the practice room, and stay healthy. And if we can get all those things taken care of, like I said before, a lot of good things could happen for us this year at the state tournament. I don't want to put so much focus on, we want to win, of course, but I consider these duels and tournaments practice matches leading up until the state tournament. You can go 20-0 and then get to the regional tournament and not place. So all those matches that you wrestled before, they don't really mean nothing if you can't make it to the state tournament.
One thing I want to talk to you about too is just, that joy of being at the state tournament. I like the state tournament out at Hartman. I think it's a good venue for it.
Right.
I'd hate to see it leave the Wichita area. Yeah. It's such a grind as a wrestler. So how do they prepare mentally for that time?
Mentally, one of the things that I've been focusing on this year is just getting them kind of rested up. This past week, I gave them Friday off, so they kind of had a 3-day weekend to kind of get their bodies and their minds prepared, because it is a grind season. The first part of the season, there's not that much competition. It all happens after Christmas. And it's kind of like every day we're doing practicing, we're dueling on Thursdays, 2-day tournaments Friday, Saturday. So I think it's real important to those guys for them to stay healthy, just kind of give them a little bit of rest here and there.
And when we look at state, to me the best part is that the parade.
Finals, yes.
That's pretty special.
It is. As an athlete, my state tournament was at the Kansas Coliseum, so a little bit different venue versus the Hartman Arena, but just being able to walk out and see all the fans, knowing that you were one of the top wrestlers in the state of Kansas, that means a lot. And for the guys that's wrestling for first and second, I mean that's a little bit of kind of gets you pumped up. All eyes are on you, and it gets you. It's real exciting.
One thing I wanted to ask you before I let you go is talking about West High. I'm a big believer in sports, what it can do for an entire community, the whole school community. I just believe that it can, success in sports just gives everybody more confidence and just a positivity throughout. I like what West has done. Their success, obviously, with Weston Sharts from before at West High. Right. Carl Taylor comes in, takes over the boys program. They finished third up at their tournament. He had success at Southeast. Right. You're a former state champ. How important is that, do you think, to come into a school that you see is really trying to improve that athletic aspect?
I think it does wonders. Because of the fact that Coach Sharts is back as, the football coach, me and him kind of, we work together. Wrestling and football kind of play hand in hand. So I think with the older coaches that came back, plus myself, that kind of sends to the students that, hey, I kind of thought about wrestling, but I don't know about wrestling. And now I'm not patting my own self on the back, but if they hear the name Kenny Taylor as a coach, they kind of will swing them back towards the wrestling mat and get them involved with the sport. And I think that helps out our wrestling team a lot.
That's great.
Yes.
Well, good.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and good luck to you guys in the next month.
Thank you.
All right, stepping away a little bit from wrestling to basketball. It was boys tournaments last week, and there were some awful good ones. East High goes out to Dodge City, falls to Hayes in the championship game there. It was East's first loss. Hayes is a definite good opponent, though. There'll be someone to watch in Class 5A. I think a lot of teams, has chalked up 5A to be in a Highland Park championship. I tell you, there's quite a few teams out there in 5A who are going to test Highland Park. Looking out at the McPherson tournament, North High goes into that tournament with a losing record. North High finished third. They had the upset of the tournament week when North beats McPherson in the first round game, which just kind of took the wind out of the sails of that tournament, because it's always has such a great atmosphere on that semifinal night. And McPherson played at 3 o'clock in the Constellation. They ended up finishing fifth, and that's 2-1. It doesn't hurt their record too much, but they were unbeaten before that. North High just played fantastic. I have not seen that kind of showing from that team. They've got the talent, they've got the shooters, and they never made a mistake that allowed McPherson to get on a run to beat them. And they shot so well, and it was really an impressive win there. They come back and they ended up losing in the semis, but they beat Derby in overtime to finish third. Talking about Derby, this is a Derby team that comes in and beats Blue Valley West in double overtime 95-90. Such a high-scoring, fast-paced game. Very fun to watch. Then Derby plays Shawnee Mission East, loses by 3, and had a chance to win there late. And then the overtime game, of course, for third. Over at Valley Center, it was Blue Valley Northwest, the 3-time state championship game team that won last year, so the defending champ. Total experience, best player in the state in Clayton Custer, and they're going up against Southeast, a very good young team. And for the first half, it was outstanding basketball. It was fast-paced. It was 2 very good teams just going at it and hitting shots. And then the third quarter completely changed. Suddenly, a 4-point game turned into a complete blowout. Blue Valley Northwest showed the difference between, you know, experience versus inexperience. I hear a lot of people talk about that as we head into the Super Bowl, right? What is experience worth? Well, as we see, and when we watch enough sports, it is a big deal. And I think Southeast, that this is a game that if they can take and learn from this, they could still be someone to watch down the line in Class 6A. This week we have girls basketball tournaments, and the one you got to watch is out at Newton. You just have to. It's a great tournament. You've got such good teams, Newton, Andover Central, Cape and Carroll. That doesn't even include the Bishop Miege and Olathe Northwest that will be there. McPherson is always a tournament to watch, of course. El Dorado is going to be having its tournament. Oh, by the way, Capen wins the El Dorado tournament in a win over Collegiate. Capen, another team in the City League that came away with a win. Eisenhower came away with a championship win out of the Spring Hill tournament. They won out on Friday night. May South won the Sterling tournament on Friday night as well. Sorry, I should have mentioned that earlier when I was talking about the boys. But the girls tournament, they go on center stage this week, and for good reason. Definitely go check out those games. You can catch me on my live chat on Wednesday from 1 to 2 at VarsityKansas.com. And of course, you can always catch me on Twitter at Joanna Chadwick. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.